live, huh? I'm going to go over here.
That's what it showed.
What?
That's what it shows, live.
Yeah, but I'm going to go over here and look here on this. If I can do this and see if we are there. We are there.
Good.
Good.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. And
Good morning, Swamiji.
I show that, can somebody, if you can hear both of us, see and hear both of us, would somebody please type in the comments box that you can see and hear both of us? We don't know if we're talking to ourselves or to you. Are you doing it, Rahul?
I'm looking to go where to go.
Abhyasa Ashram Satsang Group.
I will remove the sound.
Yes. I see and hear you both, is Raj saying.
Okay, all right, good. All right, so here we are. And
Hi.
so this is Sunday Satsang. We're a few minutes late. I had trouble getting this thing to open properly. You know, I'm here in the ashram, of course, and Matri is in Savannah at the home of Raj.
Yeah,
Yes.
This lets me see you both, and it's in there, and it looks like you're live on Facebook. Because you are.
Yes,
How cool is that?
and you're watching the two faces.
Yes.
Do you have earphones? I mean, I'm wondering if you can hear us well too.
Hi, Nelly. Goedemiddag. Welcome to this version of our Sunday morning satsang split screen. So I can be on location. Hi, Matthias. And still be Swamiji's sidekick.
Who are you saying hello to?
Oh, I see all these Nelly and Matthias and Adi. I'm seeing all these things pop up in my screen that they're saying hi.
Oh, that's who I see so far. John Doe, Jane Doe. Is there a real person there named Jane Doe, or is that the live computer?
I don't know.
Show. Rod, yes, I see here both of you. It allows me to click that. Do you have this feature, Ma?
No, I can't click anything because I'm your guest. I'm your guest.
Yeah, I see. So I clicked on, and now I can hide Raj and I can put him back. But I put Raj's comment there, and I want to see how long it stays there before it disappears.
Okay.
And so to everybody, we're having a conversation. Good morning, says Nicholas.
Good morning.
And I noticed there's a little bit of a time delay, a pretty substantial time delay. And Adi says hi. And see, I can see the meeting on the cell phone here. So, alrighty. So enough of this technical stuff.
What did you choose for topic?
What?
Yes.
What is the topic of this week, Swamiji? Don't hold us any longer.
The topic of the week this thing did not show it when it showed up online?
Oh, it did. So silly me, but I like hearing saying the word.
Kaivalya. Kaivalya.
This is the end.
Fancy, and it shows that we've got 6 people watching us. Of course, I'm one of the 6 people with the cell phone, and Rojo
And Raj is one of them.
and Raj is one. So we're sitting here busily talking to ourselves. Except that Nelly and there's Nelly
Matthias and Adi, and they're all here. Hi.
And Adi is saying hi, and Matthias is saying hi.
Finally, Adi says Kaivalya.
Finally, Kaivalya.
Finally, there we go. What was the reason or anything specific that you chose this for this week's family?
I don't know. Last week we talked about what?
Shraddha.
Shraddha, and I have no
Hi, Sia.
idea why it was, but somehow after that, it just, hi Sri Ram, it popped into my mind to do this. It just came to mind, and so I said, I'm just gonna let's just.
Not that we need a reason.
No, but I understand the curiosity. It's like, where did Shraddha come from? The same thing happened a week before, but I said to you, what do you think we're going to do next week? You said Shraddha.
Yeah.
I guess part of it is that, and we're going to have a conversation, and we'll just keep going together here and talk. And so all of you, as you know, please use that comments box. And you see all the comments too, right, Ma?
I do, yeah.
Do you see them in the Be Live, or do you see them?
I see them in the Be Live, but I also have my Facebook open, so.
Okay, and you also have a Raj that is there.
And I also have a Raj here, yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, I've got a Rojo.
My faithful assistant.
Turned off her phone. And so,
I
but
didn't
any,
want to create a feedback loop with,
huh?
I didn't want to make one of those feedback loops with echoing.
Well, but you don't need sound. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's watching the show, what does that mean? Show. Oh.
Oh, it shows your name on your picture there.
Oh. And we'll show Ma Tree. Just in case nobody knows who we are. Should I take those off, Ma? What do you think?
It looks impressive though, but now Sri Ram's comment is on top of it, so I don't see it.
Well, I can turn him off. Take that, Sri Ram.
Sorry.
You look very impressive.
Wow, that looks very, very professional.
It does. So.
Oh, Swami Dinesh, what about it? Danda Swami Dinesh.
Remember, I can turn off your label.
Oh, okay. I'm labelless, so I don't care. There, it just went. Huh?
Anyway,
Just the
Kaivalya.
name. Kaivalya, free from names.
Huh?
Free from names and forms.
Free from names and forms. I guess I just love the word, and part of it that I really, really like about Kaivalya is that it really does give us an answer to what is the goal of yoga. Why are we doing all this stuff? And it's easy, for example, to look at the 8 rungs of yoga, you know, yama, niyama, asana, what's that next one? Pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, those 8 rungs. And the most primitive views look at that usage of the word samadhi and say that samadhi is the goal. Well, that particular usage of the word samadhi is not the end of yoga. That particular usage of the word samadhi is the tool, is the instrument of yoga. So if you look at the sutras that Patanjali presents just after the presentation on samadhi, so Patanjali tells you in the Yoga Sutras what we are to do with that samadhi. We are to use that samadhi to introspect, to inspect within, to do viveka or discernment, so that we can set aside all the false identities that occur because of avidya or ignorance. And then if we understand that, then we can understand the definition of yoga that's at the beginning of Yoga Sutras, where Patanjali said, I hope this doesn't sound like mere philosophy, where Patanjali says, yogas chitta vritti nirodha tadadrastu svarupa evasnam. Pretty impressive, wasn't it, that I can say that?
Oh, very impressive.
It's about all I can say. But the principle is, when you set aside everything that you are not temporarily, when you set all of that aside, then who you really are is what's left. The drastu, the seer, the witness, the observer is what's left. And that's what we know as our, where is it over here? Our friendly little question mark there. And that's self-realization. That's the Atman, the Purusha. And so that is where we have Kaivalya. So the Samadhi means the ability to, the words I used for it in describing it is razor sharp attention, or we could say laser-like attention is probably even better. We can really focus in on the samskaras that are in the latent unconscious that define me at the deepest level of who I am before realizing the Atman as me and my traits. And so we apply this laser-like attention to those samskaras, and we come to see, oops, that's not who I am. And that is viveka, discernment. And the moment that we have that little glimpse of insight, it's a portion of going beyond the avidya, where I forgot my true nature, which is out here. I forgot this, and I thought that I'm all of these habit patterns, and then these habit patterns come out into the world, and now I'm a me out here in the world doing stuff. And so when I have this experience here, we're using the samadhi in the sense of the 8 rungs. We're using the samadhi as an instrument, as a tool. I think I like,
as a friend, friendly.
As a friendly thing, but yet we're doing it with razor sharp attention, like a surgeon's knife is the way I always think of it, cutting away, trimming away the false identities. As I say that, coming to mind is breakfast here, watching Ma Tree, who's sitting to my left at the table usually, and she'll take an apple, and with her knife, or a mango is even more fun to watch, and with the nice and very meticulously, very carefully cutting away the, what do you call the outside of the mango? The peel. Cutting away the peel and putting it down. And I can't do this as well as she ends up with this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mango or apple. And then it's ready to just carve up and eat. And so this is what we're doing. We are setting aside our false identities with discrimination, very, very one-pointed, and yet with this deep awareness absorption to be able to take this little part of this peel of the mango and cut it away. And that's what we're doing. And then what you're left with is this big, beautiful mango that you can then eat. And the good news about that is she always shares it. And all of a sudden, coming over my way is this wonderful piece of mango. Anyway, so you look at it like that. And here, with yoga, the thing that is left is not the beautiful mango to eat, but in fact, what's left is the Atman. And this level of attainment is called Kaivalya. We find in Yoga Sutras, we find this word used 2 times. It's at the very end of chapter 3 of Yoga Sutras and at the very end of chapter 4 of Yoga Sutras. It gets translated as liberation. But if it's liberation, what is it liberation from? It's liberation in that experience of Kaivalya. It's literally liberation from 100% of all the samskaras and all the identities. When we say it there's different words that use to point to essentially the same thing. We can talk about, of course, I'm going to turn this just a little bit. We can talk about self-realization, the realization of this. When you talk about the realization of this, it has a certain flavor to it. It has a feeling to it when you use those words. When you talk about Kaivalya, what we're seeing is I'm now experiencing liberation freedom, free, to be free, right, Mom? It's being free from all of these manifestations of actions and senses and body, and free from breath, and free from conscious mind, and free from active and latent unconscious and samskaras. And I'm free from all that. And that is called the process of liberation or freedom from all of these. And then what is left? Self-realization. Atmajana. Atmajana is the knowing of Atman, which is self-realization. So you can use different words to say it, and they each have a subtly different nuance. There's the thing. Thank you.
Nelly posted a question.
All right, I put that there for a moment. Ma, copy. Thank you, Ma. That's a nice idea. Now that was in. You just posted that in the comments box, right? Yeah.
I posted it on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean Facebook comments box. Oh, good. Thank you. This works very well, doesn't it? This is a nice way of doing it. And I'm gonna now. And she put that's what she posted there. The one you're looking at is at the end of chapter 3, and she has posted the one. All of you are looking, I guess, at your posting comments, but in case you're not, she posted also the one that's in Sutra 34 of chapter 4. And I'm going to click on the show button here, and this will pop up on your video screen in a moment. Is it there yet? No, it's not there yet.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. Now you got the other one. So anybody want to read through that? When those primary, see, I'll read it from my phone. When those primary, this is cool technology, isn't it? When those primary elements involve or resolve themselves back into that out of which they emerge, there comes liberation, wherein the power of pure consciousness becomes established in its true nature. And there's the Sanskrit transliteration. And so that process is called Kaivalya. And so this Kaivalya is a very, very big terminology. And so sometimes, now just so we don't destroy this word samadhi, sometimes, and if you know the difference here between what's talking about as liberation and the tool of deep absorption called samadhi, then you're never confused. Sometimes you see an author write something and use these words, and if we understand pretty clearly what is really being talked about, then when you see a certain author use a word like samadhi or whatever, you can see the way in which it's being used. So, for example, sometimes the word samadhi is used as if it is the result of Kaivalya, of liberation. So this word samadhi gets used in generally two different ways. There's actually many, many different types or ways of doing samadhi. One time, probably, I think it was now over 20 years ago, I was trying to understand this word samadhi, and I took a stack of books and I put it in front of me, including some encyclopedic or dictionary kinds of glossary kinds of books. And I put, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 books there, and I went through every one of them, and I was, with a pencil and with a pen and paper, I was collecting how many different words for samadhi are there, and I ended up with over 60 different terms. So you can say Sananda Samadhi, Sasmita Samadhi, Savitarka Samadhi, Nirvichara Samadhi, Vikalpa Samadhi. There's all these words. And basically, it means the type of deep absorption is. And so if I take, there's no such term, but if I take this pen that I've got here.
Swamiji, the comment is pretty blocking the screen.
All right, I will turn, thank you. I will turn off the comment. Hi, there. Okay. If I hold up this pen and I go into samadhi on pen, I could say pen samadhi. Of course, there is no such historical yogic term of pen samadhi. But anyway, so all of those different kinds of samadhi, all of those are savitarka, they're with an object. Nirvitarka samadhi, or samprajnata samadhi and asamprajnata samadhi without an object. Those are different usages of the word samadhi. And all of those fit into one category, so to speak, of the use of the word samadhi, because they all have to do with deep absorption in this particular kind of way. And that approach is what is, to the word samadhi, is what is used to do the viveka, the discernment, to set it aside. When the word samadhi is used, sometimes the word samadhi is used as a word for that which is what the result of the Kaivalya, or it's used synonymously with the word turiya. You know, when we talk about waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and the fourth state, turiya, sometimes the word samadhi is used as a symbol for that dot on the om, which is, of course, the same as the question mark on our circle chart. So sometimes the word samadhi is used in that kind of way. And so that's okay. And if we understand something about Kaivalya and liberation, and we understand something about the usage of samadhi, we see that there's one category of samadhi that has a whole bunch of different kinds within it. And then over here is this highest notion. We say it's knowing of Atman, it's knowing of Purusha. It's what comes after liberation as Kaivalya and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm going to go back. What?
Could you say something about if samadhi is needed to go through samadhi towards Kaivalya, in the sense of one is always needed for the other, or is enough meditation, for example, enough?
I'm not
you
sure.
Understand? We've talked about this here, and before, and I had it then better formulated.
I'm not quite getting it, but I note here, and in language, we've talked about this many times, that we use language. We're stuck with this problem. Language has limitations, and if we know that it has limitations, then we can intelligently use language.
Yes.
But the word meditation, remember that most of us, common language, we use the word meditation to apply to this whole journey. We say, well, my meditation results in liberation or Kaivalya. But in actual, if we're really being specific about it, the word dhyana is rung number 7 of the 8 rungs of yoga. So even the word meditation in common language gets used in 2 ways. The word meditation is yes, it is rung 7 of the 8. It is dhyana. It is that. It's when I'm meditating on my pen and I get so absorbed in pen, that it's like I'm not thinking of anything else. It's just pen, pen, pen. That's the state of meditation. But when we sometimes use the word meditation describing the whole process of meditation in common language, most all of us use that kind of language, and that's entirely okay. So it's just that when somebody speaks of the word meditation, if we're sharp, we know which way they're talking about it, which conversation we're having in the moment. And so I think Maya, you were talking about, do I need to do the whole thing in my meditation practice, or can I skip it? Is that what you were getting at?
I remember that we talked about it in relation to contemplation, because eventually contemplation leads to knowing that.
Yes.
And so we were talking about, so I'm sorry to go off track.
No, it works. It goes along with the conversation, or
Okay.
it's beside the conversation, so it's related. And now I just lost it again. Say that last fragment of that sentence again to get me back with you.
I was saying that it was in relation to contemplation, because contemplation also leads to the question mark.
Here, in what we in our common language call the process of meditation, and when we compare that aspect of meditation to what in our common language we call contemplation. Contemplation is vichara. And the fundamental difference between those two approaches, and in some sense we all already know this, when we're doing that which we call meditation, what are we trying to do? We are trying to sit down and be very, very still. Let go of the external world out there. Let the senses come in. Let the body be still and not distracting. Let the breath be smooth so that it's not disturbing. Let the conscious mind become quiet. Allow the unconscious to come forward so that it's not disturbing. And we're letting all of this go so that we can go to the center of consciousness. This is the process that we basically all talk about with meditation. And so in meditation, we are setting aside the instruments of thinking. We are setting aside the instrument of language. However, in contemplation, what we are doing is we are not setting aside thinking. We are not setting aside language. We are using language and we are using our thinking process. We're using those instruments so that we can think our way through something. And so we're using the tools. Meditation, we set aside the indriyas. In contemplation, we utilize the indriyas. And then when we finally, in our contemplation, when we get sufficiently inward, then what happens is then the language falls away and we come into direct experience. And when we succeed in meditation, what do? We end up at that place as well. So ultimately, my choice of words for this is that the process of meditation and the process of contemplation converge. They end up converging in one point. And so they end up being one self-realization. But just short of that realization, we can see that the two are different. The two insights are different. And one of the ways of holding that is that in samadhi, asamprajnata samadhi, in samprajnata samadhi, where there's an object, sa means with, there's a prajnata, something on which the mind is leaning, so to speak. If my mind is leaning on the pen, then I go into samadhi on the pen. This is a samprajnata. If I go into samadhi on breath, this is an object. If I say earth, water, fire, air, space, these are mentioned in chapter 3 of the Yoga Sutras. If I go into samadhi on the inner experience of the earth element, for example, there is still an object on which the mind is leaning. Okay? Same with the pen. Asamprajnata samadhi means that there is no object on which the mind is leaning. I had an experience that it took me 30 years to actually understand what this meant. But around 1980, I went to a library in Jacksonville, Florida, pulled a book off the shelf, and it instructed me that what was needed is to have one object in the mind and then simply forget that one object. So whatever that object is, it's a samprajnata. It is a thing on which the mind is leaning. What would it, just think about this, contemplate on what I'm about to say. What would it be like if I had one object in my mind, whether it's my pen or my breath, or the element of earth or a person? What if my mind has one object in mind and I forgot that one object? It just fell away. We all know what it's like to forget something. What would happen if the awareness of that object just fell away? That would be called asamprajnata samadhi. But the instrument. What?
You're in the stance of samadhi, so to speak, but without an object.
This is where I was just going. All of the apparatus of mind, the manas and the buddhi and the ahankara, the ego, all of that apparatus of thinking is still in essentially the same configuration that it would be in when it's in samadhi on pan or breath or earth element or one of the indriyas. The mental process, the instruments would be in the same configuration. It's just that now there's nothing there. There's no object there. There's no object on which there is attention. It's very, very close to Atman, but it's still not quite there. It's not quite there because the apparatus is still in that configuration as if it were going to be in samadhi on an object.
You said the four forms of mind, so they're in a perfect sense of ekagra, but not yet nirodha.
I'm seeing something else on here on the screen that I want to test, and I don't know what this is going to do. I have 5 little options here. I've never used them before. I'm going to check them one time and see what happens. I think if I click this, then what you're all going to see is only Matri. Yes, isn't that neat? That's only Matri. Isn't that cool? Now the next one I get huh?
Oh, yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only Matri. Now the next little box I get to choose, you see that puts me down on the over top of her, down below, right? Can you see that yet?
There's a time.
Yeah. There it is. There's a little delay. Now I'm gonna Okay, there's the default position. Now, here's another one that I don't know what it's going to do. This is experimenting. This is not about Kaivalya. Okay, see, there's me and a little bitty Matri. And here is me.
Did you just boot me out?
I just booted you out. Wait a moment. I'm about to show up here.
Okay.
See? There you go.
Yeah.
But now there,
That's cool.
now you can have her back. Yeah, isn't that cool? And so that works nicely, doesn't it? And there's little buttons here that I can push to do that.
They improved that. That wasn't there before.
Thank you. I didn't remember seeing that before either. Did you see what
that wasn't?
This is way cool. They're getting this better. This company is going to just provide a better and better thing for us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So anyway, that's some stuff about a difference between meditation and contemplation. And remember, it's also awkward because sometimes, and one of the confusions over Western religion, and you can see this in the dictionaries. Swami Rama pointed this out, and I went to some dictionaries and discovered, guess what? It's true. If you look up the word meditation, it basically, sometimes it will direct you to the word contemplation. If you look up in the dictionary the word contemplation, it essentially leads you in the direction of the word meditation. So in common language, it's almost as if meditation and contemplation are the same thing. One of the places that I've encountered some trouble with this in the Western influence is that if you talk to a religious person in the West and they talk about doing meditation, what it means is they read a passage of the Bible and then they think about it. That's what they call meditation. Now in Psalms of the Old Testament, there's a passage there that Swami Rama and Pandit Arya and many people have pointed out is a good summary of meditation being in the Western tradition. It says, be still and know that I am God. And it's a pretty fair statement, I think, to say that encaptures the whole spirit of what we know as meditation, where you're setting aside, so that you can come to know the center. And that's called meditation. But in their common language, the word meditation means read something out of your Bible and then think about it. Well, this is what we would call contemplation. And so we don't have to argue about this. It's not that one is right and the other is wrong. The important thing is to recognize that there are two different processes, and what we are doing in our sadhana is both. We're saying very much do both. Don't do one or the other. It's just that if many, if not most traditions, you do only one and the other. I know I have met quite a few people in India, Indian ashrams. I've been in Indian ashrams where they do not do meditation. All they do is contemplation, what we know as contemplation. and they are in. One woman I know is an American Swami for a very, very well-known, famous ashram in the world. I won't say the name, doesn't matter, but it was founded by a man who I tremendously respect. And he is of a guru who I tremendously respect, who is long gone. I quite respect the wisdom of these people, but they don't meditate. One day I asked my Swami friend, I said, I've heard this rumor that in your ashram you don't meditate. And I said, can you tell me about that? I said, I'm just genuinely curious to know. And she explained it to me. And the way she explained it to me is, if anybody here wants to do meditation, they will not be criticized. There will be no objection to it. But no, that's not what we do. And so what they do is only contemplation. And they read, they study Sanskrit a lot. And they sit around and listen to lectures from the guru. And I've had people in India say, oh, let's see, what's the phrase? Can you give me your, not lecture. No, I've gone blank on the term.
Discourse, Swamiji.
Discourse, thank you. Yes, and so you have a discourse. You have a standard discourse that you give to another person. And so, please give me your discourse. And this is what their style of contemplation often is in some of the, what they call themselves Advaita ashrams or Vedanta ashrams. And they have just, over time, they have dropped, and in my opinion, it's just an opinion, lost the benefits that come from meditation. They have lost the benefit of training themselves in pratyahara. I stayed in one of the largest ashrams in the Himalayas as a guest, and the guru of the place liked me so much. I was the only, he said, you have permission to come to my ashram and stay here anytime you want, as long as you want. And at the time, it's probably still true, I don't know, I'm the only white man foreigner who has that permission, because it's only an Indian ashram. Yeah. Only Indians go there. And the boss of the ashram was Swami, and then there were probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 Swamis in permanent residence there. It looked like, boy, this looks like the ashram of the Himalayas that we all would want to go to. And it's a very nice place. It's big, has a lot of rooms, and a lot of people come and visit. Well, they ate dinner at 9 o'clock at night. And I sat there and watched all these Swamis. I mean, I already have enough weight problem, but they're eating lots and lots and lots of food. And then what do? They go to bed and sleep. And then in the morning, do they get up for meditation? No. They don't get up for meditation. They have a ritual prayer time and they have breakfast. And of course, they start with chai. And it's okay. It's entirely okay. But I'm saying this not to complain, but to make an observation that it is very common that people will only do contemplation and reject meditation. And in the Western version of that, that's the Indians, Vedantas, Advaitins in India. And in the Western, and the one I know mostly, of course, is the Christian tradition. You listen to what?
There's a question of Ali.
Okay, and we still have way back up there. There was a question that I didn't get to. Anyway, is that enough on that? Is that enough on that rant? I'll shut up if I've said enough. Let me move back up here. There was one early on. You said that Nelly
posted about what's the difference between Kaivalya and moksha.
Okay, where is that? It's here somewhere. Is there a difference between Kaivalya and moksha? Essentially, no. But Nelly, essentially, there's no difference. But again, whenever we see 2 words, we can know that they are used in ever so slightly different context. And so the context of moksha is usually coming out of that side of the sadhana that is purely contemplative in what is commonly called Vedanta or Advaita, like the ashrams that I'm talking about there. that I was just mentioning. And so there, your starting point is, for example, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mitya. Brahman is truth. The one absolute non-dual reality, Advaita, is the only thing that is in existence. Jagan Mitya means that everything in the world is unreal. And so the pen is not merely a pen. It is a composite of the ink that came out of plants or wherever they made it, and the plastic that was made from oil pumped up underground, and it's a composite thing. And so in a sense, it has an unreality. And gradually through contemplation, you look at everything around you and you realize everything is just a manifestation of something. Everything else is a composite that came from something else. And so this is the starting point of contemplation. In that contemplation, what gets skipped is the purifying aspects of yoga, as are so exquisitely outlined by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras. So there's a presumption there that one has already prepared to do that. But if your starting point is that everything is Brahman, and you're doing contemplation to be aware of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep to come inward, you're doing an action something like this. You're receding in this kind of way, where you come to realize, aha, aham brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Ayam Atma Brahman means that the center of me as Atman and Brahman, the ocean, are one and the same. So when you approach it in that contemplative kind of way, typically the word that is used is moksha.
Isn't moksha also used for all samskaras to be gone?
Yes, that's basically what I was just saying. But the
no
same
more
thing,
merging out.
yeah, but the same thing that you just said, Ma, is also true of Kaivalya, which is why I did not mention that. So the starting point that ends up using the word moksha is the starting point is everything is Brahman. Now let me sit and contemplate how that works. There is the appearance of the waking state of consciousness. There's the appearance of dreaming. There is the appearance of samskaras, and it's all Maya. You see, and so then that comes in. So there's a feel to that approach, and in that approach of contemplation, the word that is used is moksha. Look at what we've been talking about Kaivalya. With Kaivalya, you gradually set aside, and the things that Ma put up there with the attainment of equality. Where is the one before that? I was looking for the other one. When the primary elements involve or resolve themselves back into that out of which they emerge, there comes the Kaivalya. And so remember that we were using lower samadhi as a razor-sharp instrument. Remember when we were talking about Matri, peeling away the skin, the peel off of the mango. And this is what we're gradually doing in our meditation process. And then by setting aside in that kind of way, and we gradually set aside all the samskaras, but we're doing it in an introspective kind of way that is through what we know as meditation. There the word Kaivalya is used. So if we can ponder a little bit, Nellie, the difference between those, the attempt that I just made to explain the difference between the two approaches, then you see, well, okay, it's okay that if you take this approach and you end up there, that's called Kaivalya, because it's the process of what Patanjali calls Nirodha, Yogaschita Vritti Nirodha. There's a setting aside, and then Tada Drastu Svarupa Vasanam. There, in that approach, the word Kaivalya is used. When you start with the contemplation that says, I understand from my guru and my lineage and the Shastras, the scriptures, that everything is Brahman, and that's my foundation, but there appears to be multiplicity, and I'm doing this by thinking my way through it in contemplation, the vichara process. That's when the word moksha is used. Now, if we have some basic understanding of those two kinds of approaches, we see that, wait a minute, ultimately they converge. Ultimately, they are saying the same thing. So if you say it in that kind of way, then it's probably a fair comment to say Kaivalya and moksha are the same. But when we realize that the two words are there because the approaches are ever so slightly differently, and then when we practice both of them, you and I, we're practicing both. So I'm saying they appear to be slightly different. By doing the two kinds of practice, we realize that they are vastly different, but they're tremendously complementary. And so we can see that Kaivalya and moksha are both different and the same. And in either case, either way we want to look at it, they're not in conflict. Deepti said that has the video and sound been choppy for people? Deepti said it earlier. I'm kind of curious. Some feedback. How is our technology working? Would somebody please type in the box, is the video and the sound working well for you? To what extent is contemplation the same as using mind to train the mind to go beyond the mind?
And he later changed his comment because he said it's not to go beyond the mind, but to reveal what's beyond the mind.
Yeah, okay. In either way, it's still, I got something here to respond to that. To what extent is contemplation the same as using the mind to train the mind to go beyond it? It's sort of like what I was just saying a moment ago, Adi. We're approaching it in two slightly separate ways, but yet underneath it all, it's essentially similar, if not the same. So we are training, for example, we are training ourselves to sit with head, neck, and trunk straight. This is asana, rung 3 of the 8 rungs. And we are training ourselves in ahimsa. I remember Georg Fjorstein used to have a discussion forum online. It had something like 7,000 people in it. Georg was trying to make himself available to the public, to people, to be able to help them sort through some of these kind of questions. There was a guy on there from Delhi in India who was extremely argumentative. He was an extremely Vedanta person and said yoga is completely, totally wrong. It's just wrong. And he would say this, he would type it in the boxes there. He would say, it's just all wrong. He was angry. He was an angry fella. And he said, there's nothing in it that's right. And one day I typed a thing here trying to ask him a simple question just to find a way to bridge this apparent gap between people here. And I said, does this mean that you are in opposition to the first yama of yoga, which is ahimsa, non-harming? If you're saying that everything is wrong, then in effect you're saying that the practice of ahimsa is wrong. All I was trying to do was get him to acknowledge that there is compatibility. And the man absolutely refused to go there. He just came back and said, everything is just all wrong. It's just all wrong. And I'm not saying these things to pick on, middle-aged and older Indian men, but they get stuck in a certain way. Most of the Christian preachers that I have met in America and I've watched their sermons on YouTube. I've looked at this stuff. I take it in. And they get confused in a different way. So people in the deep south of the United States in the Bible Belt, what they call it, which is where we are actually in the lower edge of what they call in the U.S. the Bible Belt. People in the Bible Belt can get stuck in one way. A lot of the people in India who are very bright Sanskrit scholar people, they can get stuck too. They just get stuck in a different way. And the thing I wanted to say here to you, Adi, with this is that what we really need to do is train the mind in both. In both approaches, we need to train the mind. So in that sense, we can say, well, they're the same. To what extent is contemplation the same as mind and training the mind to go beyond the mind, in terms of your comment there? We can say there are subtle differences in the way the mind is trained, but they both involve training the mind. Govinder said contemplation and meditation are different but companions. Yes, yes. Ramakrishna Society. What about, I don't know what about Ramakrishna Society. Anyway, there's Brenda. Hi, Brenda. I didn't know you were there. I'm sitting there making a comment. I forgot, what did I say? Oh, about my dear friend and your dear friend Georg. That was a long time ago. And boy, that guy that was on that forum that Georg had, I learned how to set up a forum because Georg had his. And then the guy who set it up for Georg helped me set up one. And finally, Georg finally shut down his online discussion forum because he couldn't get people like that to quit fighting. They just, there was enough people trolling and just wanted to have fighting and limited amount of people wanting to learn. And I always admired Georg for having the courage to walk out into this crazy world of internet, you know, and be willing to try to help people learn this stuff. I always respected his, what I thought was a very pure heart that was trying to make himself publicly available. If you guys know then Georg by name, or if you don't, he is one of the leading scholars in the West communicating, you know, some of the stuff from the traditional perspectives. And so it was a genuine, warm-hearted effort to try to do stuff for people. And he finally shut his down, and I shut mine down about 6 months after he shut his down. And I think it would be neat if he was still with us as some of this technology we have now is still coming, because I think he would be really loving being able to come together and have conversations like we're doing. And now things like Facebook are so big, we can have this meeting here and have a satsang together and basically be not disturbed by anybody. Nobody comes into these satsangs and starts putting out garbage and giving us a hard time. I don't go out there.
Scott is making the sweet comment that Brenda still offers a wonderful course based on his work.
Say that again, Ma. Your voice was breaking up.
Scott said that Brenda still offers a wonderful course based on his work.
Yeah. And so, for those who are curious about it, do it. Go hook up with Brenda. She's a bright yogi and a teacher and all like that. And she's carrying on that work for Georg. Tremendous service she does. And one of these days, I'm going to find a way to convince her to come down here through Florida and spend a few days with us. I haven't succeeded at that yet, but she keeps promising that one day she will visit us and sit in the meditation room, and maybe we'll take her for a walk on the beach. Yeah, give her that. Yeah, give her that. Try to say no to that, Brenda. You see, when you get this, I say, "Come, Brenda." She says, "Yeah, oh, that crazy old man. He's trouble." I don't.
I would love to meet you.
But when you get there, give her that please again.
Please.
Anyway. So
or like when Swamiji is deprived of something, he does like this. Like we're starving.
Anyway, what else did I miss down here? There's more down.
Nothing much, Swamiji. People are giving nice comments.
Anirudh is with us. Hi, Anirudh. Answering the question, works well here. Had a little echo earlier, said Sarah. Hi, Sarah, St. Hill. So basically, this streaming, this technology is working pretty well here.
Nice.
Is better, said Sarah. Good.
So do you have any brilliant comment closings about the subject of Kaivalya, Swamiji?
I don't. I was just about to say, Ma, to everybody, does anybody have any last minute little comments or questions that you want us to respond to in this? I'm not much thinking of anything with Kaivalya. I love the word. I just love the word. But I love the word yoga. Yoga.
And I love the word free.
And so this is another example. This is, as some of you in this conversation know, I'm kind of pushy about this business of what I call keyword, because everybody Googles things, and you can't use Google or any other search box if you don't have a keyword. You type the word in, and you're saying, "Dear Guru Google, this is what I want to know about," and I type it in the box, and it gives me all this wisdom, presents it to me. And so it comes from me because early on, somebody told me many, many years ago, watch out for Swami Rama, because one of these days he will ask you what you want, and you better be ready. And so it got me thinking, what do I want? What do I want? And I tried on language because the culture told me that what I'm supposed to want is salvation. Well, I never felt like I was a sinner to start with, so I had trouble with that word. Somebody would say, you're supposed to want to know God. You're supposed to want to be with God in heaven after death. And these words and this language did not speak to me. And so what do you want? And this over time evolved, and then this was pre-internet, then, and of course way before search engines and Google and all this. And then finally came Google and keywords, and it all kind of came together and said, this is what it's about. So what is the keyword? And there are many, many different words that can capture this. And so Matri and I had this conversation several times over a window of about 7-8 years ago of asking her what she wanted. And she finally came up with, I want to be free. And so different words speak to different ones of us, and we all may know that they're all pointed in the same direction. They're all pointed here. They're all pointed to this dot on the Om. They're all headed for the same thing, but they each have a different feel to it. So we choose the word that we find exciting, and she likes the word free. And for me, I finally had the answer with Swami Rama. I said, I want to wake up, because I had encountered somewhere, and I think I've forgotten which one it is, Mundak Upanishad, I think it was, that talks about how what we think of as the waking state out here is actually dreaming. We have fallen asleep into a dream world. And so what do you want to do? Wake up. And so I said, what I want to do is wake up. And that became a part of our ongoing conversation. I'd see him in the hallway in the institute, early mornings. How are you doing? He had this, well, how are you doing? And I'd say, sarcastic, I say, I'm still asleep because you won't wake me up. And things like that. And so,
an acquired taste even then.
I know, I've always been an acquired taste. But anyway, so back to Brenda.
He had a closing question.
Okay, I'm trying to get down there to it.
Yeah.
It cannot be known, can it? Or is this
one lower then. Search for one lower.
The one lower than that is Scott saying setting up for reception equals keyword. Yes.
No, the comment of Adi that is prior to it cannot be known, can it? Scroll down.
I'm scrolling up. How important is it to know about Samadhi Kaivalya, as it is all beyond mind, the conscious mind? I'm going to make the comment here. I think I understand the point you're making, Adi, that we don't need to know all this stuff. And to me, I think this is one of the traps, because we can say, well, I intellectually have an understanding of Atman. And this is sort of what some of the religionist people on both East and West do as a trap. They skip the basics. And so if we don't want to know about how to train our mind to be able to do samadhi, if you don't want to know how to train your mind to do samadhi, what is the likelihood of actually being able to succeed in transcending the mind?
Yeah.
One of the simple ways Swami Rama put it in his meditation and practice books, he says the foremost part of the training is to train the mind that reality is beyond itself. It's a beautiful, I think, choice of words. We are training the mind so that the mind understands, and we can say also the ego understands, that what I'm looking for is beyond me.
Yes.
And so we have to train ourselves to be able to do that. That's my take on it, Adi.
There's no path, but only a fool.
Yeah, there's a comment. I've decades ago forgotten who to give credit for this, but it was one of the comments that has been most impressive on me, and it's simply the one that Ma just said. There is no path, but only a fool does not follow it. It sounds
there
like
is no practice.
There is no practice.
But only a fool
does not practice. And so, everything is Brahman. Everything is Brahman. In one sense, there's only yoga. Here's an example. I may say this, and I think Brenda will give me little hearts for this because I mean it respectfully. There's only one reality. But when Georg presents his perspectives on yoga, he talks about Hindu yoga and Buddhist yoga and Jain yoga. And he does a beautiful job of going through the texts that come out of those three cultures or traditions. And I know that Georg was and is very, very acutely aware that there's only one reality. I'm very, very aware of that. But there's a part of me that says, come on, Georg, why are you subdividing yoga into three parts? It's only one. And so if I say that respectfully, then I can say all is one and there's no conflict. If I say it with arrogance, with cultural arrogance, then I'm saying, we are the Hindus and we are the source of all this, and even Buddha had to come to us to learn, and so Buddhism is better, so Hinduism is better than Buddhism. Well, where the hell did the ism come from? It's all one. And yet, and I'm saying this lovingly and respectfully because Georg does a beautiful job of approaching this through those three lenses, as well as other lenses. So we need not subdivide yoga. There's only one reality. There's only Brahman. There's only Advaita. There's only that. Tatvamasi, Svetaketu. Chandogya Upanishad. The teacher says to the student Svetaketu 9 times, Tatvamasi Svetaketu. It's one of the Mahavakyas of contemplation. That, Tat, means that absolute reality, that infinite ocean, that one. Which is, of course, one more time, is simply the meaning of the dot on the Om. Are you aware? Think about this. I don't know where to tell you to go look for it. But are you aware that before, I'm looking for a piece of paper to make a little note on here. I don't see a little piece of paper. I gotta have one somewhere. Here's a piece of paper. I'll put it like this. That before the cross was considered a religious symbol of a murder weapon because a guy was nailed up on it. Before it was that, the cross had a completely different meaning. And to this day, if we look at it like this, we can see a tremendous beauty in that symbol. When I'm riding around, and I'm not a follower of any religion and all, but I would go by a church and I see a cross on the top of the church. I don't think of a man being nailed down. I think of the ancient symbol of the cross, which was far, far preceded that. It's much more than 2,000 years old. And it was a symbol, if I can do this well, like this. It is the symbol of a dot. See the dot that I put there? There's the dot. And coming out of the dot is reality, radiating outward. And it is a cross. So the symbol of the cross was being used a long time before Jesus was murdered on the wooden cross. It was this kind of symbol. Okay? And you can actually see, and there's some people write about this, that you see some Christian symbols of the cross like this that is encircled, and it has some ancient mystical meaning. And this is also in the Upanishads, which predates the emergence of the thing called Hinduism. And this is out of one of the Upanishads, and it is talking about the wheel of being in the world. The external part of the wheel is our engagement in the external world. And what are the names of those 4 spokes of the wheel? Some of you know.
Manas, Chitta, Ahankara, and Buddhi.
Manas, Chitta, Ahankara, and Buddhi. And it's an old metaphor of a wheel with 4 spokes. And what is the center? What is the center of the wheel called? Atman, or the center of consciousness. That is the center of the wheel. That is the center of the wheel. That is the center of what appears to be a cross. But the original cross was not a cross. It was a point out of which was radiating reality. It's very similar, is it not, to what the modern astrophysicists talk about in the Big Bang. We have this concept that there's a point and everything banged out of it, the Big Bang theory. Anyway, so Kaivalya. So all of these terms, it seems to me, all of these terms, I'm still sort of talking on the basis of what Adi was talking about, that I think there's great value in knowing these things. It's one of the things, too, because I still think, remembering Georg got into the conversation with us here. And Georg was a practitioner. He's a scholar, brilliant scholar, but he's a practitioner. So why do we want to know this stuff just so we can get a PhD and impress people because look at me, because I have a doctorate degree in whatever? Or are we learning this so we can do the sadhana? One of the ways that Swami Rama put it that I kind of like, of course I admit an admitted bias, he said what we're trying to learn is how to unlearn. We have learned how to build ourselves up as a pile of samskaras, latent unconscious. And that samskaras, in conjunction with the Atman, is called Jivatman, or simply Jiva, or in English translation, soul. And then that soul operates outward in the subtle psychic astral planes and comes out here into the gross realm and gets a body and a womb and becomes a me out here.
Swami Rama also says we know how to take off, but we don't know how to land.
Yeah, and that's it's metaphors. We have to talk about this stuff with metaphors. And from where did we take off? We took off from here. Like the airplane. We took off and we came out here, and now we're learning how to land the plane. And Matri is sitting there with Raj, and Raj is an aeronautical engineer. And if you're seeing Doc Rojo's page, you'll see a video she made this morning. No, where did she do this? No, we did that into the mentoring group. For those of you who are involved in the mentoring group, there is a new training video in there. Did you see it yet, Ma?
Just the first 2 seconds, Ralph appeared.
Yeah.
And then we had to stop because of this.
Yeah, well, so Doc Rojo had a training session on diaphragmatic breathing with Ralph, with student Ralph. And
okay.
Ralph is so respectful that he gave his respects to his guru Raj.
That we did hear that. Yeah, we did hear that.
This is important.
The guru was very happy that he got that recognition. He humbly
says. Okay, well, enough. This has been fun. We should probably stop, huh? On the road, I wanted to comment in his book, Dark Night of the Soul, St. John of Cross mentions a special contemplation. I wasn't too sure what it meant. I don't recall at the moment what contemplation you're talking about, on the road, but I love the idea of the Dark Night of the Soul of St. John of the Cross. This is one of the things that I always think about with that. It's a beautiful thing to look at. The idea of the Dark Night of the Soul is not the same as clinical depression. I from time to time, I'll get an email or a call from somebody that says, I'm suffering from Dark Night of the Soul. They're not suffering from Dark Night of the Soul. They're suffering from life and depression and not dealing with their own mental, if I may use the term, bullshit. Dark Night of the Soul comes when you have had a very clear glimpse of truth and you've lost it. Go read. This is what St. John is talking about in the dark night of the soul. He had some glimpses of God or truth or reality or the infinite one, and then his habit patterns clouded it back over and he lost it. And this creates an unbelievable confusion and depression that is very different than just a typical psychopathological depression. This is one of the phenomena that is one of the most important, if I may say this, Anna Rose, one of the most important things that I enjoy in my life is when I get to meet a person who is dealing with some degree of that, because of having some profound insight, often early in life, often in childhood, often at 8, 10, 12 years old, such an insight came and didn't have anything to do with it. It's what I went through as a child, and I now meet people who have been through this and have had glimpses of intuition of reality, and whether they are in the US or Europe or in India, anywhere in the world this happens, where a person has some intuitions about the nature of absolute reality and found nobody to validate it. Not in their schools, not in their families, not in their churches or temples or ashrams or anywhere. And then this very, very heavy weight comes upon you. This is the spirit of dark night of the soul. And
the deep longing that goes with the agony of longing.
Yeah, and then when you have the deep longing and your heart starts to have some little glimpses of intuition about it, and then it gets crushed, then this is tremendously painful. But this is not the same as the kind of depression that comes when your business goes bankrupt, or your spouse divorces you and runs away with the kids and the bank account. These are very frustrating things. Or you have a boss who's a jerk and you get fired from your job. These can be very depressing, miserable experiences to happen in life. But it's nothing compared to having a glimpse of truth and having it cloud back over, and the waves of doubt and confusion to come. Remember, Patanjali talks in Sutra 30 and 31 of chapter 1, 9 what I like to call yucky things that naturally occur on the journey, and those 9 trigger 4 more. So I call it the 13 yucky experiences. And some of those are of going backwards in our practice. And this can lead to depression. Yes. But it's a particular kind of depression. It's not just because I lost my job and my money and my spouse and things like that. Anyway. Finally, something finally worked. I'm glad it worked, Deepti, whatever it was. What I'm looking for is beyond me, yes. Hi, Mir. After learning the little about mind, all my belief and understanding collapsed. What I see and react to is just information and nothing else. Thank you, Mir. And if I may say in response to what you said there, it for me has been an absolute joy watching you learn what you just said there. It's just been a real joy. And I'm honored to have you as a friend. So we should probably call it a day, huh? We got a few minutes late start, but then we made up for it by going over a little bit. But this has been a lot of fun for me. I hope the rest of you kind of enjoyed it. Once we got this thing working, it kind of worked all right, didn't it?
It did, yeah, and I'm happy that in this way, then even if I'm traveling, we don't have to miss the Sundays. I don't have to be always on the couch to do this together.
Yeah. This works well. We'll experiment with some more with this, and it's nice to see that the technology is working and the Wi-Fi is working.
Yeah.
And it's good. So thank you all for playing, and I know this will be archived in the group, and so then I guess some more people will see it. And all to be continued. I don't know what it will be next week, but there will be next week. And I was thinking too, I don't know, we'll talk later about this, Ma, about doing
Okay,
some other
let's do that.
ideas of what to do with this thing. And we should not
Yes.
wait too much longer. Okay. All righty. So
I'll just stay on when you end this.
you'll what?
I'll stay on. You can end it, but not kick me out yet. So that
Yeah,
the
okay.
people...
Is that how it works? I can kick you out? I won't kick you out.
No, you can stop the meeting.
I will. It says there's a big red bar there that says end broadcast. This sounds
Bye
sounds
everyone. It was such a joy coming together
very
on Sunday.
final, doesn't it?
It
But
does.
now I'm noticing that now for some odd reason unknown to me, the videos are starting to freeze.
Oh, it's the universe telling us to stop.
It's the universe. Yeah. Oh, wow, man. It's the universe. It's like the universe is talking to
It's the universe.
Bye, son.
us. Bye-bye, all. Thank you for playing. Thank you for hanging out.
Om Tat Sat, Swamiji.
Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Sat is that, and Om is the way to get there. Om leads us to Sat. The Sat, the
Groovy.
top that is Sat. Huh?
Groovy.
Groovy. Groovy. Boy, that's been a long time, huh? Feeling groovy. Da-dum, dum, da-dum.
Oh, please stop, stop.
Please stop, you move too fast. You got to make the moment last. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Feeling groovy. It's an old song. Wendy will find it and post it. Everybody will love it. Feeling groovy. Okay, I'm going to say Om Tat Sat. 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.